Hello there. I'm trying my very best to get a setting where we do actually get a sharp image of what is imprinted in this rim. Berreta, made in Italy, stuff of legends. So what I'm going to show you today is how I polish aluminium, raw aluminium that is. So there's no paint on it, no plastic coat, no no process on it. It's raw metal. This is probably a rim from the 90s, maybe even 80s. It's a very solid rim. It's quite a nice profile, so I will use this. It's not a double walled, so it's light. I will use this as a cyclocross wheel. There's very few scratches. There's not really any damage to talk of. No curb rash, nothing like that. And the wheel has just lived a quiet life happily, being rather a happy wheel. So it's a Berreta, made in Italy, 28 by 1.75. It's aluminium alloy, ETRTO 622 by 19. DIN wear is a wear indicator. So the wear indicator is this groove on the outside. It's completely deep, so this is not shot. So it is a nice find. I'm really happy I have this one. So I'm going to do the whole process here without any machines and no clever tools. So this is all made by hand. I have started off, because it's very repetitive, I have started off with a 800 grit wet and dry sandpaper, 800, 1000, 1200, 1500, and we have two left. There is 2000 and 3000, and then I have another pad which is also a 3000. So here's how I do this. I do this religiously, I do it in peace, and I do it in harmony and in quality. So somehow this is also an exercise for your arms. So if you channel your inner Karate Kid is the kind of kung fu karate movie done with this old Japanese dude somewhere in California, where there's a little child that gets bullied and the old man takes it in and teaches him how to do karate, and some of it is repetitive, hard exercise that he makes the child do. So channeling that. I'm going around this very sympathetic to the shape. So this is a flat surface, slightly curved. So I'm putting my hand flat, I'm holding the sandpaper like this, flat, and I'm going around this a couple of times. The indicator for me when I have done enough is when I see that I get a fine black abrasive color between the rim and my sandpaper. That's when I stop. That is then when I have done of the particular piece of paper that I hold in my hand enough. Okay, now this aluminium sand dust is brutal. I'm using typically a recycled or no longer fit for for kitchen use, for hygienic reasons, or has been in there for a couple of weeks or a couple of days or whatever. And I recycle these, and they will do another job, one job. You see, this will no longer come off the cloth, so this cloth is black forever, but it's really good in taking the dust off. And I do this for each individual part of the job that I do. So now I lay it down. Let me show you the profile so you might understand better what I'm talking about. There is a flat surface which I sand first. There's a flat surface, the breaking surface, and then we're going around the bend, which is round, and there's a negative here. So I need to go in there with my finger. My finger is about the same radius as this negative. So I'm using my thumb to go around it. So that means I'm holding the sandpaper now a little different. So I'm holding it like that. Another thing, I always try and keep my cardboard dry. Yes, it's perishable, the cardboard. Yes, I replace it many times, but at the same token, I make it last as long as possible. So here's me going into the negative, and since I'm holding it against on the outside, I'm also doing this radius. I'm doing about, I don't push as hard as I pull, so when I pull, I push my two fingers together a little harder than when I go back. I'm doing about a quarter of the rim at one given time, and I do that 4 times, so that means I'm doubling up on each surface. So there is no beginning and no end, ideally, or none that you would experience. If there would be any particular problems with this rim, I would obviously deal with them before. This is the time when everything needs to be harmoniously and equally done. Here we are now in the 4th quarter, if you so want, in the negative and in the radius, and now I'm doing the breaking surface. The breaking surface gets the least amount because that will be scratched up by breaking anyways. So there's no point in polishing that too much. But I'm going over it anyway since I have the tool to hand. So here again is the time when I will rub the breaking dust off the wheel before I turn it around. Try not to shake the water. Obviously everything is a bit mobile here. So then I can turn it around. I will rinse out the paper in the water, and I will replace the water after, usually after every single sandpaper grid, because the theory I have is that the sandpaper sheds sand. So if you don't clean away that sand and you just go to the finer grade paper, you're still pushing the old sand around, and therefore you're not moving up. You will have like minor scratches in there. That's hypothetical, but it's also real. So I just prefer to rinse the water because that's an easy task to do, much less hard work than the actual sanding process. These rims have a seam. There would be something to go over twice. There's only so much you can do before you solve the problem and create another one. So that's the 1200. Oh no, what is it? 15? No, sorry. That's the 2000 done. And I'm now going over to the sink. I'm going to rinse off this piece of paper. I'm going to get some fresh water, wash my cloth, and then we'll do the 3000 paper before we do the 3000 pad. So look, this is me having washed the cloth a couple of times. There's no coming back for this, same for the gloves. So this abrasive stuff is nasty. Be aware what you do with this stuff afterwards. Sometimes your material will give itself a designation, a value, a name, and sometimes that's more correct than others. So if it says 3000 one time, it might not be the same 3000 the next time. And in my experience, the pad that I have, which is something I picked up actually at our painters, is way nicer. You basically realize the difference. If you would polish after the 3000 paper grid or with the 3000 pad, it's just not the same. So I will go and do the 3000 and I will do the 3000 pad. I have never owned any sandpaper that was any less coarse, but who knows? Maybe the future will bring such things. I hear people talking about it, never experienced it, I never felt the need to do so, but you never know until you try it. I recently became lazy and I found a little dude sitting at the corner of the street with a little polishing machine, and his basically his daily job more or less is polishing household pots, and they looked nice. Whatever he had there looked nice, so I thought he was doing a good job. So I thought, okay, let's try this, okay? Give the man a job and let him earn some money. And I left my very best selected aluminium rim pair for my Honda Cup there. They are, to my understanding, made in Malaysia, and they have a clear coat on it, which is probably done in the process of spraying on a powder, and it then gets melted on, becomes see-through and shiny. There were plenty of scratches everywhere, and it was clear, to me at least, that this clear coat needed to come off first. Now our man didn't understand that, and he started using a wire wheel to get rid of the clear coat and some of the scratches, and then went around to polish. He then called and said, well, I can't do it, you need to pay me 5 times as much as I quoted you. And said, like, well, then don't, because for this kind of money I can buy new ones. It's not worth it, so stop. Don't do it if you can't do it. So then though, all of a sudden, my friend, who is Turkish and does all the calling, translating for that guy, at least for me, he said this is finished and I can pick it up. So I said, okay, great. So he changed his mind and made a good job. So I was looking forward to pick up these nicely polished aluminium rims, and I was obviously like channeling a quality as I would make it. That's just how one thinks, you know. You always expect others to do as good as you do. Well, sadly, far from it, this dude has completely wire wheel all over the whole surface. Really hard, harsh steel wire wool So the whole surface is engraved in non-directional wire scratches. Very disappointing, because in order to remedy that, I would have to do this to a motorcycle rim. But plus, you'd have to start at something like 240 sanding paper, and there's these where the nipples sit on a rim, there's this elevated domes, so you need to work around that too. It's impossible. So basically, my dream of some polished aluminium rims on my Honda Cup, the easy way, has been shattered by some person who did not know what the job was all about. I was not happy when I picked them up. But what can you do? I decided at least not to pay him, since he gave me something back that was worse than what I handed to him. He was not happy, but I was much, much less happier than him. So now, if you're doing something and it works fine, you will know that. If you're doing something and you know the amount of effort it takes, or how to do something more efficiently, you learn that. So basically, my point is something like this here, where the general shape is there. There's no obstacles. Sorry, making a mess. There's no obstacle as in complicated shapes. There's no damage, there's no dents. There's nothing that you need to hide. You can just trust. There was no clear coat on it. So this is an easy job. So that's okay. Do that. Anything else, don't do it. My rims now, I can paint them, okay? I can paint them whatever. Military green, or something like that. Something hot roddy. So, last. Was that already the 3000? Oh wow, okay. So now we just have the pad left. Now, what doesn't come out of my claws doesn't come out of my claws. That's now engraved. So the most important wash that you'll ever give for this wheel is now. And we will now find our 3000 pad. Ah, found it. That was easy. Didn't think that would be that easy. So, here we go. Something else, whenever I can, I'll sit down. Because you stand all day, you stand all day. So, sit down, that's good for you. Wow, I was singing and dancing. The sound of this pad, maybe it's gone. Maybe it has lost all of it. It's not abrasing, it's not doing anything. Yeah. It's okay. We're done. This is not doing anything. Just give it a sympathetic go over. If it does anything, it's for for sure isn't much. So, outside. Okay, so I'm going to use a clean toothbrush to go into the wear indicator a little bit. I will do that later with the polishing compound too. That will clean it out. The wear indicator is this little strip here. It shows me that this rim is literally brand new. 50 years old and brand new. We don't know the age. I am not there's this one guy, Monkey Shred, I think. Is that his name? Monkey Shred? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm really not good in remembering names. He's a dude in Britain. He builds bicycles. All kinds. He also likes vintage bicycles. Obviously most of his stuff is British. I tend to do Italian stuff because I think the Italian stuff is more beautiful than what the Germans did in those days. So, here we go. Time to clear the water. Time to rinse the cloth. After I clean my working surface and then we polish. No, actually show you first. Yes, we will go all the way today. We'll polish it. You could argue the polishing compound is going to make it dirty anyway, but as explained before, I think the cleaning action is the easiest one. And it just definitely adds quality. So, let's give it a dry wipe. First I'll do the groove, that should be the dirtiest place. See, it's got some dirt we're picking up anyway. And I do the whatever groove that holds to the tire. So I should have done this the other way around, but you know, let's not be more Catholic than the Pope. So ready for polishing. Just going to, in the case I have to recycle this toothbrush. Oh, no, I don't. We have a polishing toothbrush. We're using my favorite material, Next Cloth. Okay, I was going to show you what this looks like now. afraid you don't see much, do you? There. It's not shiny. It's completely not shiny. Oh, it is a little shiny. So, let's polish and see what happens. I'm going to go to the very few, we'll start here where there is the imprint that says Berreta and whatnot. It's only one spot where we have this. I really want that clean. I have taken care of not to over restore this, so you will still feel some of the manufacturing marks, so you will still see them. This is obviously a drawn profile. I have to go over this with yeah, this looks perfect. Like new, not more shiny than new. Just a little bit more shiny. So, going to the wear indicator with the toothbrush. Again, there is no need to lose sleep over that one, because you will ride the bike, you will brake, and it will fill up with brake dust. But at least since we're here, we can try our best and make it a little nicer. So I'm going to at least do the hard part in real time, so you will see how much or how little time this actually takes. It is important to me to not overdo it. I mean, you can do a job and get a certain quality in a certain time, and then you want another 3% extra quality, you double the time. I want to be relatively efficient too. So, since this is not a rim that's worth 10,000 euros, I'm not going to spend 500 hours on cleaning it. And mind you, this goes on my cyclocross bike. So, it will have some hard work to do. There are some things happening in the groove that are not coming out like this. This I can see already, so I'll stop that. He gets his chance, he can do something, and if it's not complying, then we'll stop. Okay, now I'm going to do the same logic. Beyond the inside of the surface, the flat surface, let's get this kind of smooth. I want a smooth, clean piece of cloth. it's exercise. It takes your arm. I would not want to do 2 jobs like this in one day. I'll just prefer to do different things in order to train different muscles. Don't laugh at me until you've done it yourself. It's hard. And of course, if you have my age, you can do 10 times more, or whatever. If you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can polish 50 rims a day. Do I care? I'm not. So now, that's it, more or less. I'm going to fish out for you the Berreta imprint. Yes, and then I'm going to take a clean toothbrush. Where did I put it? In order to tickle out the grey polish and aluminium dust that is sitting inside the writing. Well, at least I'm trying to. Maybe I need to employ some water. Let's try that. Okay, so now this would be the finish rub, where I'm also trying to avoid my very best to touch it again. Let me show you then. Now we have this issue again, don't we? Ah, come on. Shh, 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 shh. Focus. Is it focusing? It doesn't look very happy. Damn. I'm sorry. How do I do this? Maybe the cloth will help.
I'm really sorry. I don't think it's focusing very well. Let me try some graphics. Right, I'm very sorry, but this is basically what I can offer you. We'll maybe see this again another day. So, thanks for watching. This was polishing a rim, 36 minutes. Take care.